and away he ran. But you know, that fox, he was no dummy. He didn't head off running towards home. No, sir. He ran off in the opposite direction, across the countryside. And he kept right on running till he came to a little stream of water. And when he got there, he just jumped into the water and lay down till he was all covered up and only his nose was sticking out so he could breathe. And then he just waited. And he listened. And way off in the distance, he could hear old John blowing his horn, calling out his dogs. And it sounded like this. And then after a little while, that fox could hear the dogs following his trail, getting closer and closer to where he was hiding. And at the front of the pack, there was a great big, huge lead dog that went woof, 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 woof. And next came a big, big bunch of medium-sized hounds going ow, ow, ow. And bringing up the rear were two itty-bitty little puppies out for their first hunt. Boots, boots, I love to wear my pair, but I can't wear them in the house, it never seems quite fair. I promised I would wipe my feet when I come through the door, but Mother says the leather heels put scratches on her floor. Boots, boots, I like mine full of feet, but I'm not allowed to keep them on when I come in to eat. Yes, his mother made him take the bus, like good alligators do. But Charlie got so angry that he ate the driver's shoe. And then he ate the shoes of everybody there. And becoming agitated, ate the bus's bottom stair. Why, once he'd gotten started, Charlie couldn't stop. He made each wheel a meal, which made that driver hop. Oh, the bus driver, he was angry, but Charlie's friends were glad. They started eating all the seats, which made that driver mad. Oh, the driver started shouting at that alligator bunch.
You mustn't eat the school bus. Why can't you wait for lunch?
Guabi guabi gujang lentumpian, isalen kambe, chuyantan. Guabi guabi gujang lentumpian, isalen kambe, chuyantan. Nijang teng lama banza, izuije le banana. Nijang teng lama banza, izuije le banana. Way back in the days of the dinosaurs, when there were no people and there were no wars, just dinosaurs here and dinosaurs there, dinosaurs just about everywhere, dinosaurs, dinosaurs every which way. The world belonged to dinosaurs back in those days. There were dinosaurs that could fly and glide in the wind high up in the sky, and dinosaurs that could swim deep down in the ocean where the light is dim. Dinosaurs all over the land, in the mountains, in the valleys, on the beaches, in the sand. Elizabeth woke up one morning to find that the hair on her head was bright red. She was still a redhead when she climbed back in bed that night after she had been fed. As she lay there in bed, all her names filled her head. So she opened her mouth and she said that her name was
Sarah Elizabeth Ward Sullivan Silver.
At the sound of her voice, something quite strange filled up the air in her room.
The moment I spoke, a big cloud of smoke appeared there sooner than soon.
It seemed like a joke till the smoke cleared away, and there stood a dragon who leaned down to say that its name was
Sarah Elizabeth Ward Sullivan Silver.
There's a tadpole in this puddle. I wonder how it will grow up to lose its tail, grow big feet and little hands. There's lots of puddles out today. It rained all day yesterday, and I got to get back home before it starts to rain again. Oh, I got to get back home before dark. Oh, I got to get back home before it starts to rain again. Oh, I got to get back home before dark. Now nobody really knows how, and nobody really knows why. But one day, the lion made of stone that had always stood so still in front of the big library way up on the hill opened up his eyes and shook his giant head and stopped being stone but came alive instead. And then he calmly walked up the stairs and went inside the library. Oh, the people there were quite surprised and also very terrified. They thought he would roar a terrible roar that would rattle the windows and shake up the floor. They thought he would chase them to eat them at night. They thought he would swallow them whole with one bite. But that's not what he did at all. Instead, he walked over to a quiet corner and found himself a good book. And then he sat down and began to read. I see England, I see France, I see Zeta's fancy pants. They're not too big, they're not too small, they're just the size of Montreal. Pigeons on the roof had all stopped cooing. Outside the night was hot, the moon was bright. The shadow of a tree, as I could plainly see, hung darkly on my walls throughout the night. That tree's overgrown beside my window. I can almost reach its branches from my bed. And on that night an owl, with his face in a scowl, was sitting on a branch quite near my head. I drew my breath in sharply when I saw him. He stared into my eyes and then he blinked, trying not to seem afraid. As I lay there in the shade, I fixed him in my gaze and then I winked. He seemed to take that wink to be a signal and with a gentle hop he left the tree, landing on my window ledge and sitting there upon its edge. He shook his head and then winked back at me.